Hey guys, Wrestling Road Diaries 3 Funny Equals Money is now shipping and available on digital download. Order now and not only get a free cover card signed by myself, Kikutaro, and Grado while supplies last, but you can get a free holiday Colt Cabana card made by Sarah of Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling fame, and it's autographed by me. Pick up the movie that dissects comedy in wrestling and enjoy it on Christmas Day or one of the 8 Hanukkah days. But for now, enjoy the show.
This is The Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana.
All right, how you guys doing? Come on and sit down, relax. You're about to listen to The Art of Wrestling, a professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's a personal journal. It sends your way into the minds and souls, the hearts and lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I'm your host. My name is Colt Cabana. I am a shipper. I am a performer. I'm a movie producer. I'm a podcast doer. I'm a podcaster. Most importantly, though, I am a professional wrestler, and I am sitting here live in my studio apartment in Chicago, Illinois. Before I go any further, this is a fan supported and listener supported podcast supported by people just like you. Give it to you free of charge every single Thursday on ColtCabana.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts from. A couple great ways that you can support, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Tell a friend, let somebody know, tweet it out, Facebook it out, Snapchat it out, Vine it out on those dying Vine days. Best way that you can support, though, ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, t-shirts, posters, pictures, DVDs, digital downloads, the Wrestling Road Diaries 1, 2, and 3. That's the place you can get it. Of course, order before the holiday season. I will send you a free holiday card. ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com. That's right. Sarah Shockey of Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling. She's a drawer. She draws a lot of her buddies over there on her show. I think Ryback's made an appearance. At Billy with the at Billy on his forehead, and she's a wonderful drawer, and she drew me some holiday cards, and now I get to give them to you for free if you buy anything in this holiday season. Give obviously the Wrestling Road Diaries 3 to a friend. I think that's what I'm suggesting. It's a great suggestion too, because it's a great movie, and I think you'll love it. Looking for other holiday suggestions? Black Friday is upon us. Pro Wrestling Tees has their annual 20% off everything sale, and that's going to happen until next Tuesday. Usually, it's a real shit show over there, and they're shipping out shirts. I gotta say that 5 times fast. They're shipping out shirts like animals over there. They'll be working hard. Maybe I should bring them a pizza. Now I sound like a dick if I don't. They're working hard over there at ProWrestlingTees.com. Order yourself something. ProWrestlingTees.com/Colt Cabana. I got a bunch of shirts on there that you'll probably love. Not going to get that card, though. You got to order that from me. Hopefully you haven't skipped through this part, right? You're listening to this whole thing. The ones that I like. Those other ones, you can all fuck off. I know who you are. And you don't know that I'm telling you to fuck off, so it's a real win-win for me. Cody Rhodes is on the show, and the show is really fun. He orders like $70 worth of pizza for one person, I think, knowing that I'm coming in and knowing that I don't want to eat it. But then, of course, I have to because that's my weakness. And we do a whole show, and the whole show goes great. And then all of a sudden, he busts something out on me the last 10 minutes. So it's so important that you listen to the last 10 minutes because it's like everything I love about podcasting. And I'm not saying that these real moments haven't happened in a while, but like this was the first time where I was like, oh, this is a thing where we grab the microphones and this is a real conversation that should probably just be happening in a hotel room with no one listening or in a locker room or taking somebody aside, but it's happening on the podcast. And I think that's what's special about it. And that's what's special about my podcast and the idea that this could happen on the show. So you're going to love it. I hate to make you wait for the dessert of the last 10 minutes. But you're going to have to. I'll give you a little bit of a teaser. Here's what happened. So some of you might remember after I did that podcast with Punk, which happens to be, I think this is the 2-year anniversary today. Some of you guys remember that like he had this weird cryptic tweet about like, I don't know, like anyone could do a podcast or something really weird. And I was always super weirded out by it because Cody and I always had a really good relationship. And then I was like, oh, I guess we don't have a good relationship anymore. Fast forward, he leaves WWE. He gets booked to do a show in Minnesota. He sends me a text and says, hey, we're going to wrestle each other. I really want to wrestle you. I'm sorry if stuff got weird. We'll talk about it in person, but please accept my apology. I'll let you know some weird stories that I heard. And that was it. And I was like, all right. Well, I kind of wanted to know, but he's like, I'll just tell you in person. And then I've seen him a couple times since. Never said anything in person. And so I was just like, all right, you know, as long as we're friends and he's put whatever weird that I did or said past him. I was fine with it. I didn't want to push it out of him. And then I did the podcast just expecting to do a regular podcast. And he's like, are we going to talk about it? And then we talk about it. And that's at the end. And it's like 10 minutes of great podcasting. I want you to enjoy a real eye-open into both of our worlds. And we'll get there. Got to get to a song of the week, though. And the song of the week this week is brought to you by Harry's. We're talking razors. We're also talking the easiest possible gift to give your dad, your brother, your lover, or a wrestler, or some combination of all of those. Harry's ships right to you. The shipping is also free. It's a great price because they cut out the middleman. Jeff and Andy, the two guys that founded it, they bought a German factory and decided to make razors by themselves. For the holiday, which you're buying the gift sets for, there's a great shaving set, chrome razor handle, 3 5-blade cartridges, foam shave cream, all in a beautifully designed box. I know it's beautifully designed because they sent me one, and I'm probably going to hand it off to my dad. It's only $30 on Harry's.com, plus a $5 off with the code COLT. There's also sets starting at just $10 with that code. Harry's is what I use. They've been with me for so long now. They're truly a great sponsor and means a lot to me. I'm allowed to continue to do this show because they sponsored this show. The kit that they gave me, it's the one I use on the road. I'm on the road and I shave and they send it to me. Why wouldn't I use it? And it's great. Can't think of a gift? Go to Harry's, HARRYS.com. Use the code COLT. Free shipping for the gift. Ends December 8th, so you got plenty of time. Go to Harry's.com. Use the code COLT. Get $5 off for first-time users and have yourself a great shave. All right, the song of the week this week is by a band, Twiga. They're on Twitter and Facebook at Twiga Music. Buy their music, twiga.bandcamp.com. The song is sang from the perspective of Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. It's called $1 Million Dream. Enjoy it, and we'll be back with Cody Rhodes. Hey guys, we're also brought to you by SuplexApparel.com. It's a UK-based clothing brand team of professional wrestlers like Adam Cole, Prince Devitt, Zack Sabre Jr., and many more. Out now is their winter range. You don't got to be a wrestler to wear it. You can also be a fan. They got t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, beanies, just to name a few. Pro wrestling-focused clothing for wrestlers and fans alike. You've definitely seen wrestlers and fans support Suplex Apparel. Now join the club, look the part. No worries, they ship worldwide. Go become part of this team at SuplexApparel.com.
Gave you a very bad super kick.
That was awful.
It was very bad.
Do you want to start by talking about your awful super
yes.
kick?
Let's get right into it.
Are you a super kicker?
I am not.
But you were quick to have one in the match.
Well, a lot of times people suggest it, and you don't want to not do it. You know,
I want to say that was your suggestion.
Yeah, no, I jumped ahead, and
You're like, I'm on the indies. This is what they do.
There are a lot of super kicks,
and I want to jump. I want to be part of the team.
And there was a match not too long ago with me, Hero, Gargano, and Drew, where there's like 20, and I was in on them all. But
what part of your brain says to yourself, I know we're not allowed to do this, and then what part of your brain is like, I love that we're not allowed to do this, but now we can because no one's saying that they're not allowed to do this.
I think my brain is completely one-sided at this juncture, whereas no respect for any rules.
You've jumped off those.
I've completely, no, and maybe it's just I have no clue, but for example, not the one this evening, but there are some that I've been on where there are like mini bosses who have opinions and you should do this and you should do that. I used to be a very respectful, oh yeah, absolutely. Now I literally look at them like, okay.
But I want to know about the side of your brain that has been used to, I'm not allowed to do that for so long.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're like, I don't have to be a boss to this guy, but there is that part of that brain just like, and even I was in that system for 2 years, and there's a little bit of me I was like, I don't think we're allowed to do that.
Well, 10 years,
right?
10 years. Well, it's like I'm somebody equated this whole thing the other day to I'm a teenager. I'm a teenager, and I just left home. Right? Yeah, I left home, and I'm just reckless. And any day now, I'm going to show up on the doorstep and ask them to do my laundry or something like that.
Something I heard when years later getting into wrestling is that like whatever age you get into wrestling is that what age you are for the rest of your life kind of thing.
Ooh. That's who's told you that?
I don't know. That's a thing, but it just made so much sense because I was 18 and I'm just like you're like, what are you like? You're a 4-year-old essentially.
I'm a 15-year-old boy because the first professional
it's
thing.
Two levels because it's like this new one now, kind of a little bit. But I think is that 15-year-old. That blow your mind a little bit?
It really did because I feel like it's very accurate. Also in that sense that, like I'm 31 now. However, I'm still doing things as if I'm 21, as if I'm not saying you at 31 need to have a bunch of kids and a whole different life, but I'm treating it still like, oh, there's plenty of life left to live. And there is, but like some people 40 is like over the hill. That's the expression. It's the end. But for wrestlers, I feel like that's not the case at all.
Yeah, I like there's a weird because I'm 36.
Yeah.
And I've had this weird conversation of like I do want kids and I do want like that real life. But so you know this path now of like our weird path. And a lot of me says like, okay, I think like when this starts winding down, maybe at 45, then I can have.
You're giving that number.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the number. I used to always say I'm done at 40. Like that will be it. I'll never wrestle again after 40.
You said that kind of recently while you were in WWE, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm feeling I still will stick to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. That's just a number I have in my mind.
Is that no? When I said a number, that struck a chord with you.
Yeah, you got it. The number is a real thing
because you should be giving yourself a number, or you're screwing yourself by giving a number.
The reason I have the number is because I grew up around old wrestlers, and it was really cool to see that people respect and love them for the nostalgia they brought. Yeah. However, it was also not cool to see them old and having to hurt themselves and have like that. I don't want that life. Actually, my dad, really good example. Only a few months before he died, he had a chance to go to one of the conventions that he typically doesn't go to, and he called me and was in shock at what he saw.
In terms of what? Just
how old everybody was, because he wanted to be young forever young. That was like he wanted to be young forever, and he for a very long time didn't age at all. So when he saw some of these people who don't even unrecognizable, like he looks great, but he's unrecognizable. As Paul Orndorff is a good example of somebody like
great mustache.
What a stash, really! Giving everybody a run for their money.
Puts you to shame.
When men were men, yeah. When men were men, but he was just like blown away by it. So that's why to me,
but that's a real thing, though.
Yeah,
people get older.
Yeah, but they get older, but only in this wacky world is it that they're still booked. And I get why.
Yeah,
I get it. The nostalgia, but if I was running an independent show or running a brand of my own, I definitely, if I had any of the legends in, there wouldn't be any physicality, no, it would be simple.
But in my head, I'm putting up this thing of like I'm inventing this style, not inventing this style. I'm culturing this style that I could do the shtick at 50 years old.
Well, I think there's something entertaining about that. Okay, so on the flip side, I'm at Slamboree years back. I'm a kid, and my dad tells me to go watch Nick Bockwinkel versus who Nick almost. Hold up, was it? No, it wasn't Vern. Vern was in the
Gagne, but maybe
no. Vern was in the corner. It was Nick Bockwinkel. Oh my gosh, I forgot. And so now I've completely diluted the point of this story. Damn it!
An older gentleman, I would say.
Of course, Nick Bockwinkel, Dory Funk Jr.
Okay.
And
who's still going at it, by the way.
At this, and at that juncture, they were Bockwinkel. They were very old. My dad told me to go watch them, and I did not know who they were. I did not have a good grip on the history, and watched them. And they go the distance. I think they just go 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yep, I remember that.
Oh my gosh, the respect given and the people at first, you could really even feel them as a kid. Like, what are these guys doing? And then all of a sudden, I like these guys. Oh man, they're hitting each other harder than those other guys, And then by the end, I was like, on the flip side, I totally see there is something about pro wrestling. It's like the one thing that you could be
I'm hoping.
Boom, boom. 60 years old.
There's a match, Luthez versus Karl Gotch from Japan.
Okay.
And they're both like in their 60s or 70s and like still doing it. And yeah, I agree. But I don't know the point of when I like, and I've talked about this, and you could probably relate to this. I've talked about this with like my acting agent who keeps on sending me out on roles, and I can't do any, or auditions. I can't do any because I'm not gonna nix my bookings.
No, you're good, man.
I'm not going to nix. You know what I'm saying? So, but like, when's that point when you start slowing down the book, start saying no to the bookings, and then like, oh, maybe trying to get into comedy acting or whatever I want to do?
Well, for you, I feel like, and I could be wrong, and this is a quick judge of character. I feel like the answer is never, because you're clearly like in love with lady wrestling. Yeah. So the other thing, I just moved to LA. I've been in LA for. I've been in LA long enough that I should have gone on a few auditions. That was the point. Right. I haven't gone on a single audition. I've just flown out of the airport to go all around the world and do wrestling because I fully am back in love with wrestling. Like,
Good.
Fell hard for it.
Yeah.
Like literally teary-eyed at almost all these events. Like fell hard for it. So no, we're trapped.
We've talked a little bit about this, but so I know. You obviously you went right into OVW was your first.
No fundamentals.
No fundamentals. But so a fun story that not that I really tell, but that sticks with me is when I got signed, you sent me a MySpace message.
Of course, that's how you communicated then. Yeah,
in the aughts sixes.
Yeah,
and you're like, hey, I'm excited that you're coming in, or something like the extent of that.
Yeah,
and so I was like, oh. First of all, I was like, is this the real? I don't know what's going on, but obviously it had to have been.
Yeah.
But like in my head, it was like, oh, so like he's obviously heard of the Independents or something like that. So I kind of was like, but this new jump in is like, it's so new to you.
So kind of a common mistake because I was like spoiled and kind of WWE brought up. A common mistake is people forget that I started at 15 with my dad's independent promotion. His attempt he didn't treat it like it was an independent, which no one treats their independent like it's an independent. You know, like he tried to do TV for it. He did great crowds in Carrollton, Georgia at the VFW Villa Rica. All like he had a school. We had the total time. It's the best like 2 summers ever for a high school kid. I'm training in his school. I'm his referee, and then I would also go around with him and Mike. Oh, I have to say Mike Lombardi now, but Mike Lombardi, Northeast Wrestling's. I'd go around. He was Dusty's.
Is it not Mike O'Brien anymore?
I've been told never to call him Mike O'Brien again.
Sorry about
and it's
that.
Mike Lombardi. He told me break my leg or something. I forget. But yeah, no, we went. I took them all around, so I saw very much. Now, indies, independents now are very different, or maybe they're not very different. But I had a pretty good idea.
Just the idea not in these crazy big arenas.
Oh yeah. No, very much was already familiar with what I was getting into.
Yeah. Did your dad? So when your dad was like, I don't want to say like on top, but when you went to go see your dad, like when he was like on TV and all that stuff, I assume you did, right?
Well, yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Did he do shows that were like, what was the smallest show you ever saw? Was there one where he's like in front of 200 people and you're like, what's going on?
No.
No, it was always
I was always like big Savannah, Macon, Atlanta. But for me, he was always older wrestler. Because I did not get him in his prime. I was born in 85. So in 85, he's at his absolute best. I start having like cognitive thoughts around the time he's in the polka dots. And that's really the last full speed go he went. And then he did just kind of on and off, legend returning. Yeah, he really was done after the polka dots, and he was behind the scenes. I learned who my dad was more from the fans than from my dad, because we'd leave the Omni, we'd go around the outside, and like you know how people collect around the parking lot, and it was like he was the Pope, and I just watched Sting in the main event, so I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. He really have done something good.
I don't know how that works right as a kid. Like my dad, a salesman. And you always hear like, I think I talked with like Teddy with DiBiase was an example. He's like, I don't know, it's my dad.
Yeah.
Are you I don't know, he's my dad, or you're like, I get it, I think.
Did I get how ridiculous it was?
No. Well, that's a great question too.
Did I understand early? I don't know if this is a great way to describe yourself.
Like, everybody's dad's a thing.
No, I knew.
You know, your dad's a thing.
I knew he was. Yeah, no. I think he also made us know. Like, he like years of being on top, years of also being the boss. You develop an ego. You develop a sense of like power. And he was never like like that with us. Like, but it rubs off a little bit. So I knew he was something abnormal compared to my friend's dad, who, you know, had a franchise he had a couple McDonald's franchises, or my buddy who was his dad was our dentist. You know, I knew Dream was something unique.
You think it was ridiculous?
Oh no, I early on, I never thought it was ridiculous, but I knew that I was going to have a different path, a different direction than my other friends. I knew, I've been told before, I don't know if this denotes or is correct, I've been told before that I'm a very old soul. I don't know if this applies here, but early on in my life.
Well, you are. I mean, we're sitting here and you're in a smoking jacket with a cigar, with a pipe.
I do like a good pipe.
And we've just turned off Sinatra on the record over there.
I do like the finer classic things.
So, I get it.
No, I'd like, I knew early that I guess the best way to put it, that I was going to have to kind of protect what he does.
All right, we took a small pizza break. And we're back in it.
What a break.
What a break.
Describe the scene.
All right. Cody's like, hey, we're going to order some pizza. And he orders 2 giant pizzas, a giant thing. There's a smorgasbord of things for a man who shouldn't be eating pizza.
Yeah.
And a man that I look at, Cody, who doesn't look like he eats pizza, nor I think you should less. I think I'm more allowed to, due to my body type, eat pizza.
Well, you told me you weren't going to eat the pizza, but you've had 2 slices, and I've only had 1.
You take that back. I've had 1. But when this thing is finished, I will be demolishing.
There's also that Pizookie.
I'll be demolishing 7, and I could eat that cookie for days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will power us through this.
Oh, yeah. This is important.
But so we're kind of getting away from you being an old soul. Well, an old soul would eat pizza like this. I feel.
Absolutely.
And the idea that you look like the way you do on television, you look like the way you do now, and you're just you're eating.
I'm going to pull, and I mean this in absolutely a flattering sense.
Okay.
I'm going to pull what's called an Arn Anderson. When you leave, I'm going to lie back. I'm going to pull the pizza box close to me. I'm going to take a couple more slices, and hopefully, the actual goal is to fall asleep with the piece on my chest.
But I picture Arn Anderson
with
a tummy full of pizza.
Yeah.
That's what I picture. You, not so much.
Well, everybody likes pizza.
Yeah, but not like... Well, fine, but you look at these dudes on TV, and you look at Randy Orton, you look at John Cena, and you look at you, and you look at whatever, and you see these guys, these body dudes, and that's just...
I feel I'm far from a body dude.
Stardust
got fat, too.
Did he?
Oh, Stardust was... Daniel Bryan
thing?
told me flat out. He said, you're fat.
And
he pulled me aside to tell me.
But you were wearing the thing. That's the MVP. You're allowed to, you're wearing the thing. You can do what you want.
I took it for granted.
Yeah?
Put on a few extra LBs.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I went from, I was probably the most shredded I ever got, and felt the best. I was probably 202 pounds and nearing dipping below the 200 mark. I think at Stardust at one point I weighed 230 pounds.
Wow, all
it's
right.
a shocker to me.
I just had Santino on, and he was telling me all about the WrestleMania.
He tells the story wrong.
He tells the story.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to nix him on?
Well, I'll tell you in full disclosure what happened. I'll be completely... He told you about WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
So he treats WrestleMania as if it was real. It wasn't. It happened, but it happened differently than he remembers it.
Okay.
Santino, he lies about
man.
this. But here's the reality. I bullied Santino on a bus in Europe, told him he was fat. Everyone then got mad at me because I'm being a jerk and said, well, why don't you guys do a bodybuilding competition? Regal was going to be a judge. JBL was going to be a judge, and it's going to be at WrestleMania. At the first, it was a joke. A few weeks in, Cena orders a box of shirts for Musclemania. Should have known when the shirts came out, and it was the Mega Powers graphic with Santino as Hogan and me as Savage, that I was the bad guy. didn't put it together. Really just thought, oh, that's so cool. And the best is I got a triple extra large. All these guys that are wearing the shirts, all the producers had them. Okay, fast forward. Santino doesn't get in shape at all. I felt like I was in standard normal shape. I was in the shape I was when I called him fat. And he doesn't get in shape at all. He does great at WrestleMania. He wins the Divas Battle Royal as Santina. He has a big night, a big outing, a big moment for himself. We get to the event, and I actually put a Speedo on under my suit going to the after party because I'm thinking, I hope everyone forgot. But JBL did buy this huge trophy that's in the green room and all this, and I leave to go outside of just the ballroom, and all of a sudden I hear on the microphone, Cody, and I'm thinking, oh no, John Cone, who's now like, I think he's WWE president or something. He comes and gets me.
The Donut King.
Donut King comes and gets me. He says, hey, they want you. I'm coming through the crowd. I can hear my name being chanted, and Undertaker's got the mic chanting my name. So I'm terrified. And Arn leans in. Arn Anderson again goes, you got your trunks on, boy? Yeah. We get on stage. I'm sure Santino told you. We disrobe. Kid Rock. There's that portion of the story where he says, F this, I'm out, and storms off, and Jericho's running behind him trying to save it. But then we went into, the poses. Hunter helped moderate the poses. I got booed off the stage every time. He got applauded to the ends of the earth. I was the villain. However, I was legit mad at it all. And the moment for me that I knew this is rough, Linda McMahon's in the crowd. Nicest woman on earth, right? She doesn't know what Musclemania is. She's kind of just clapping for everybody. Looks at me, puts her thumb in the air, gives me a big thumbs down, and then throws up her second hand, double thumbs down. Just heart stops, broken.
Like she's having fun with it? Or
having a great time.
Oh, okay. I disapprove.
But she gave me a double thumbs down, and they announced Santino's the winner. I'm like lurking behind the stage, pulling my pants on. Vince is trying to escape the party. He's going out the back door. It's actually the last party he attended, after party, and maybe this is why.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And I'll never forget, he grabs me by the shoulders and he goes, I'm so proud of you. And I thought, what the, I don't even know what this was, but I told Santino, because how fun was that? All the boys loved it. We were the entertainment. I told Santino, I go, this is the worst night of my life. I wasn't on WrestleMania, and I was the pariah, the villain of this skit. I've learned to appreciate it more as time went on, and the lesson is I should have never opened my damn mouth. Shouldn't have bullied him.
Well, which one was a non-WrestleMania one for you?
This was the year in Houston. So we thought we were going to be on WrestleMania with Randy and Hunter being the main event, because we had been part of the McMahon's versus Legacy, all that, and we did a backstage shot. But we were originally going to be part of the match, or I think we were. I don't know, and we weren't.
Wait,
yeah.
But you guys were. Yeah, was it?
The next year we had the triple threat.
Gotcha.
This was so I thought it would be my first WrestleMania because we had worked.
You hadn't been on a WrestleMania before that.
No, not on a WrestleMania. No.
That's pretty. So you came in heavy. It's got to be devastating, yeah.
It's even more devastating when I did it. I went and stood in Gorilla because Randy was my guy. He was my mentor, and he had helped me. And on Monday, it's me, him, and Teddy and Hunter, so now it's just them. So I understand that, but I watched it in Gorilla, and it just was so weird.
Was it you and Teddy both weren't on it?
Yeah.
Did you guys, and it's not, you're not here to tell Teddy's side of it, but was it just I don't know, was it both looking at each other oh, man?
Well, we went to the, it was a little bit of, I don't know. Teddy's a lot more laid back than I was, and sometimes him being so laid back made me want to be more on top of it. We probably could have. That's why I think we were good together. Meet in the middle occasionally. I think we knew more was coming for the group, so it wasn't a total heartbreaker because what would it have been? Us just out there, it would have just been a moment. Versus at the time, we really wanted something big.
See, that's where we have different thought process, I think. Because I think my thought would be fuck, I got to make it another 365 days. And I don't know if that was ever you in your mind. Maybe it was.
What do you, when you say 300, you got to make it, what do you mean?
Well, to me, it was just it was kind of like a race to get fired for me.
Okay.
It's just it was almost even a race. Even when I think I got fired in a February, and I was oh, I want to just make it to WrestleMania so I could be part of all of that, which I wasn't. But that to me, it's just my thought process there, and it's probably because we came from different places, and I was just man, if I was you, I was like, man, that next WrestleMania is so far from here. I don't know if, who knows what's gonna happen in that time.
Yeah.
That could have been, because at that point you could have been like, this could have been my only WrestleMania and I didn't get on it.
So
that never was in your mind.
So one of the advantages of being Dusty's son, that's one of the advantages.
Yeah.
I wasn't going anywhere. I don't mean that in a
But it was like never even.
No, I don't mean it in a cocky asshole way. I just know that like with the current situation with me leaving, they were just shocked.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And what do you think I mean? Like, I've been here a long time, like there are the flip sides and the pluses to being a second generation. There are, I would say, probably more pluses than there are negatives, and that's one of them. You're not in fear. I also was, Al Snow, when he trained me, he was a big proponent of don't be afraid of getting fired, be afraid of not getting over, was his big take. And for whatever reason, it did stick with me a lot. I tried. I'm sure there were times, but it never weighed on my mind because I know exactly what you're talking about because other guys back in 2007, 2008, 2009, people would, like, if you did a really good segment, Santino even, I forget who he told this one time, he's like, man, you just bought yourself another 6 months.
That's exactly how it
and that's how, like, if you ask, like, Zach and Kurt, like, that group that we, like, it was like you were buying yourself more time. So I know I've had those conversations with people. Mm-hmm. I was just a cocky little brat. Yeah.
You were a cocky little brat?
Yeah.
That was
that was also like the group itself. We were cocky, like, so yeah, no, it didn't. We were also told that there's something was going to come of the group eventually, All
right. And I'm a little interested in like getting into wrestling for you, like your decisions to get into it. You do summer camp, 15. You're always around it. Were you always? He was on the road. He must have been on the road so much.
No, he wasn't on the road at all.
At all. Always in Georgia.
Yeah.
At just what? At the office.
Yeah.
Office.
He missed all of Dustin's childhood, essentially being on the road. He missed none of mine. So like it's so bizarre.
Was that one of the reasons he like
for their issues?
I was going to say their issues, but like maybe the reason that he was there for you. Like he saw what happened or whatever.
I think him and Dustin having to, resolve things later in life led him to make sure like he overdid me as a dad. That's why when like people ask me, like I don't remember him in death as like any different than I remember in life, but in life and in death, he was an absurdly good father. Didn't miss anything. Nothing. He missed one wrestling match, and it's the night he turned on one of my amateur wrestling matches. He missed. It's the night he turned to the NWO when he turned on Larry Zbyszko. And I was also not smart to the industry fully, so I was actually very upset. Not only did he skip, but he's part of the NWO. Spitting in the face of tradition.
And Uncle Larry.
Yeah,
your favorite Uncle Larry.
Just real stressful.
So was his office Ted Turner office?
CNN Center, man.
Yeah, and would you go there and play like a
Hell
kid?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hell yeah. Go up the really long escalator that is, I don't know if it's still there, that was part of the tour. And this is before CNN had like taken off that much as the global news network at the time. And the higher up you went, you get close to, Ted's office.
Mm-hmm. Was he Uncle Ted?
No, I never met Ted. But Ted and my dad had a really, Ted, he wanted Rick and Dusty when he bought WCW and early in the days when they're, on TBS, it was Braves baseball and pro wrestling. So Dream and Rick were like sports stars to Ted. They were his guys. So they had a really good relationship.
Who was roaming around the house? Who were your uncle? When you said what's his tugboat?
That's my real uncle.
I know.
It's very
Uncle Fred.
Uncle Fred.
When I think the first time I ever heard, and I heard you say it, you go Uncle Fred or something like that.
Uncle Fred
made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, Uncle Fred.
That is your Uncle Fred.
Uncle Jerry, Jerry Saggs, Magnum TA is my godfather. I think DDP wanted to be something. He was around the house a lot. Okay. Yeah, and he I'm one of my favorite moments ever. I'm coming down the steps, and I'm a kid, and I come into the living room, and there's a cigar smoke filling the air, and it's about 90. It's almost 100 degrees outside. It's the middle of the summer, and I see the back of this man, long blonde hair, wearing a full fur coat, and I look. I come around the corner, and it's DDP, full fur coat, full Oakley shades, smoking a cigar in my living room. And then, like, clearly they're not ventilating this at all.
Yeah.
I learned later my dad gave him the fur coat, so he didn't want to disrespect him by not wearing it. But I thought, wow, only in this business. Nobody else's dad's
Were
doing
these guys?
this.
Were you watching the product? Were they stars to you, or were they just like dudes?
I had a real weird way of defining a like star. I liked everybody, and was definitely respectful of everybody backstage. I loved, but for me, it was weird. You almost had to have a thing. You had like a little sizzle. Maybe it was a character or whatever. Use the word gimmick, man. I don't know, but like when Muda would come in,
So, but when he would come in, I mean, like when he comes in the door of your house, right?
Yeah, Muda, that's a star.
Okay.
That's a star. It's weird how I define, like, it's weird. Anytime Sting was around, I thought he was just the greatest thing on God's green earth. Like,
were these guys playing around with you?
No, you know what? I was really shy.
Were you?
I was a super timid kid. One time, and it backfired on me. My dad had this like exploding pin, and he asked me to go get Sting to sign a picture, and it was a legit, like, I don't think it's a thing you can find in a magic shop, or it was a little advanced of a rib. He pulled the cap off as a Sharpie, and it would explode. And it didn't like blow up, but it was a terribly loud noise, like scary. And I took it to Sting and asked him. I finally like worked me up to do this, and I did it. And I remember he didn't laugh, and he just kind of stared at me. And I want to say 6 or 7 years old, mortified. My hero in wrestling hates me, and I didn't even want to do this. I'm not like a running around kid, joking, like, and it wasn't until like literally after that I just walked away. He didn't even say anything to me. And about 2 hours later, he like passed me in the hall. He's like, "I'm gonna get you," and he had smiled. And I was like, oh, "Thank God."
Like maybe someone said, "Hey, like,
I'm fairly positive.
Sell that for the kid, would you?"
I'm fairly positive somebody, because I don't think he knew. Somebody was like, "Hey, that's Dusty's son."
Yeah.
I'm sure he was probably like, "Who the hell?"
Right.
Yeah, I was super timid. Like when I'd get in the ring at WCW, I'd just look all around, even if there were cameramen. Like I would only get in if they weren't looking, and then I'd get in, like hit the ropes real quick, and then like if somebody saw me, I'd get right out.
When did because I wouldn't say you're a timid guy now, right? Obviously, wrestling does that to us.
Yeah. I guess not.
What's that?
I guess not. I'm still pretty timid.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I mean, I think wrestling got me out of my shell of whatever shell. I mean, back here, like I'm not an obnoxious whatever.
Yeah.
But there is a point where like you start realizing you have to put it on a little bit, or you have to become a gimmick kind of a little bit in real
Makes
life.
sense. Gotcha.
Yeah. You felt that never there was ever a switch or anything.
No.
But being is outgoing not is.
I'm not a very outgoing.
You would say you're outgoing.
So yeah, and this falls into it falls perfectly into today. So today, the gimmick table. This is new to me.
Oh, fun.
Terrifying.
Really?
And I've actually, full disclosure, I have requested with most places that I go that I don't even do it. That I do like the meet and greet with the whoever prepaid for that. Do that as soon as it's over. Zip right to the back.
Oh, I think I heard something. You gave your shirts and you're like, can you sell these for me? Is
Yeah,
that right?
The element of me standing out there, and like, I don't know what it is that scares me. I always think about Miz. I know that sounds stupid, but I always think, what would Miz do? And I know he'd be like, come on, like he'd be like you said, make himself a little bit of a gimmick.
Right.
If you see me out there and no one's around, I'm either pretending to be on my phone or slowly heading to the back.
Sure.
I am just not prepared for it.
The idea that no one's going to be there, but what if there's a line, though?
Oh, line? Happiest thing ever.
Right.
And lately, I've been really lucky and flattered. There's a nice line, but when the line's over, that's when I disappear.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's, man, I was doing this. I went and I did like a thing with the Shimmer girls, and there was like this, all the girls around, and so there are like 70 girls, and you can't be going to 70 girls at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And I went to a Japanese girls show in Japan. That's the cultures. They all just line up, and like sometimes you're just gonna be sitting there, and I think it's kind of weird. And it's a weird structure that independent wrestling has gotten to now that you've been able. All of a sudden, you've hit now.
Yeah.
Is that
I'm trying to rewrite the structure?
Yeah. Well, is that hey, we're all trying to make money, and that's kind of like. We can only make the money if you're out there and you're able to glad hand and shake hands and sell a T-shirt. And
I love meeting fans. Absolutely love it. It's a great. It's very rewarding. But the fear, the fear
of nobody liking you,
like lately I've been just I have been flattered, like to even if it's like a small line, a line in general. Oh, great,
of course.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something like Comic Cons, right? I did one Heroes and Villains, and I literally was so concerned because it's not even a wrestling thing now. Now I'm just out there in the wind. Like I was so concerned about will people come? I don't know. So that I over-advertised and I limited my schedule so much. And then I got there and there's tons of people and it's fun, like it takes good fans for that's what breaks me out of my shell when you get good fans, when you get somebody you can chat with and like, fill in on a few things. That's always good. There was a bunch of those tonight actually.
Yeah. And there is everywhere. I once did a con where there's this girl in like, I think she was in like the show Firefly or something.
Yeah.
And she... Whenever there was a downtime, she would run back to like the green room and wait for a line to fill up. And if someone's like, "Hey, your line's kind of filled up," then she would go back. The same idea.
I love it.
I think we're all kind of. It's a hurt to the ego if it's if there's not there.
And that's the thing. If it hurts your ego, you're doing this to yourself. You're the one who's out there.
Can save your ego.
Booked these events.
Yeah.
Like, why do this to yourself?
Right.
Yeah. No. It's the gimmick table. Me and Hornswoggle had this conversation. Because he knows something's up. Because I'll literally, like most promoters we discussed today, I do a nice little pre-show meet and greet, and when it's over, there you go.
Yeah.
But I'm trying. At Bola, I went out on night 2 and sold some shirts.
There you go.
Really, it's a hell of an experience. Around the ring, did the thing, hung it on the rope,
just like everybody else. Right?
Just like everybody else.
One of the team.
Yeah. I felt so cool, and then I realized I was literally like stepping on Dalton Castle.
Yeah,
and I could tell he was probably like, "This is kind of my fucking spot here,
right,
bud." But
and that's the whole thing, gimmick table etiquette. That's a part
I don't know any of this.
That's a part of it.
That's the last thing I want. Here
right.
I am.
Yeah,
God, he's such a dick, So yeah.
So you like the decision to dive in? Was it a hard one to wrestling?
I just took a huge bite.
Yeah, so I'll try to ask a longer question.
Of a garlic parmesan breadstick.
One of many.
To dive into independent wrestling?
No, to dive into real wrestling. So I met you. You were, I think, maybe 6 months into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 years old.
20 years old.
Yeah.
What'd you do? Did you go to try LA? Was that a thing?
Yeah, but here's what happened. Grew up in wrestling. Didn't want to do anything but be a wrestler. Mm-hmm. What else would I want to do? It's what Dusty does.
Well, there's the flip side. There's what else would I want to do, or I want nothing to do with this because I've seen the demons or whatever.
For me, it's all I wanted to do. I loved. My dad was my hero. My brother, when he was the Natural, coming out in Atlanta and Savannah and UTC Chattanooga and getting all the ladies screaming for him and stuff. I thought this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Gotcha.
Operating Vader's big headpiece and the smoke and like, what the hell? I don't want to do anything else.
You were operating?
I operated at one time.
How does that work?
But you don't remember this?
No. What is the steps of you operating this?
I think my dad just told him I was doing it. I don't think I even had to ask.
Oh, there was a remote
big ass RC remote. You'd see the guy on the side of the stage. He'd set it down, do his thing, and then you'd hope to get. I remember at just the fear of God in me that if I turn it up and the smoke doesn't happen. I thought Vader was a man killer.
Of course.
I still think Vader is a man killer.
Yes.
So, no, it worked.
Right.
He didn't even look at me, so I was like, I nailed it.
Nice.
Nailed it.
Nice. Yeah. So you were like, what else am I going to do?
Yeah, I don't want to do anything but. And my big concern was when I got out of, I had a really nice amateur wrestling career, but my amateur wrestling career was in Georgia. That isn't Pennsylvania. That's not New York. That's not California, where there are some places that amateur wrestling is like 3,000 people come watch dual meets and stuff like that. So I didn't have a lot of competition in Georgia. I played mainly like my best matches were mainly against football players who did wrestling to get in shape.
Did you do wrestling because you liked amateur wrestling, or did you think that like
weirdest thing ever? I just did it because I did pound ball football, and the coach told me he thought I'd be good at it, and I started the junior level wrestling. I was a terrible wrestler. My dad doesn't know he didn't know anything about amateur wrestling, and for a kid it was really rough because we'd go to these tournaments and all the kids would recognize my dad, and you'd be at some redneck ass tournaments in Georgia, and I literally heard one time this kid from Decula High School he pinned me in the first period, which is just the shame of shames. And I'm a kid, and I like go over, and I heard his dad tell him, he goes, "You just beat Dusty Rhodes." And I thought, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Like, my dad is sitting on the top of the stands. Like, you know, I felt bad for him at those events. He didn't even figure out how the scoring worked until I was in like a sophomore in high school, and then he was so into it. He followed that amateur wrestling career. He had his book. He had all the stats. He was so into it.
I think I remember reading. I used to get the Torch as a junior high and into maybe even college. I think I remember reading in the Torch like Dusty missed something because you had a big amateur meet or something.
He wouldn't. He wore the same shirt too. Wore the same shirt.
What's that? Cody,
Cleveland Browns T-shirt he got for free from the equipment manager, and a flannel that went over it. Yeah, because I went undefeated junior year, so that
So he wore that shirt.
I gotta wear it. Yeah, I gotta wear it. And then I went like undefeated almost all the way through the senior year. So he was wearing that shirt on a pretty regular basis.
So what did you think? You were gonna take this amateur career to another level?
So what happened was I thought I would go. I got an offer to go to Penn State. And being from Georgia, that's kind of absurd. However, my grades were a little lackluster. My SAT score was through the roof. It was wonderful. I don't know if I got lucky or whatever. But my grades were a little lackluster, so it was going to be kind of a tough sell, and it might have taken like 6 months. And then I just got this random bug, to go to L.A. and try acting. And the main reason acting instead of pro wrestling is I was afraid I wasn't physically big enough. I told you this earlier today. I got these big feet.
Yeah.
I never grew into my
13s.
Like 13s and some shoots 14. And I never grew into I thought I would be Dustin's height. Yeah. But Dustin's mother is taller, and my mother is shorter. So I thought I'd be Dustin's height, and then look at me.
Right.
Just
is that something that's weighed on you your whole life?
No, I just when I'm 17, 18, I thought maybe I'm not big enough. Maybe I'll go to LA and give acting a shot.
So was he like, hey, let's at 17, 18, you're done with high school, you're not doing college. No. Was he like, let's go, let's get you in, I'm going to get you in?
No, so the ultimate motivator, if you were to tell him, as a little kid, Colt, if you were to say, hey, Dusty, I want to be an astronaut. And if he even could tell there was no possible way you were going to be an astronaut, he would still tell you, okay, cool. When's it going to happen? What are you doing?
Let's go to space camp.
We're going to space camp today.
Yeah.
So he really believed in me going to LA acting. He didn't know it was because I didn't think I was big enough. I had trained at 15 at his school, referee, bumps, hitting the rope.
Who trained you?
At the school, it was mainly Dusty, the Shocker.
The Shocker.
Yeah, I'm trying to think his real name. He's no longer with us. I'm trying to think his real name. It was a combination. Scotty Riggs, a combination of the TCW elite who would come through. But I always did the same thing. I would do bumps. I'd run the ropes, and he wouldn't let me have matches. So as soon as he'd go out the door, I'd get in there with somebody with Rage from Rage and Chaos and try to have my best attempt at a match and end up with a bloody nose. Yeah. And then he'd know something had happened. Yeah.
Okay. And so you go to LA, and then what happens? You grow into your body?
I go to LA, and watching is actually Randy Orton. I start keeping up more with the product because after the Attitude Era, there's a slight fallout on wrestling, for everybody. Mm-hmm. There's a slight. So I'm starting to kind of dive into the product more, and Randy's just doing this. Not so much how Randy looked, but almost how he presented himself. This second generation, or in his case, third generation, and just the whole snide and cocky and star element about it just super appealed to me.
And was the idea that he didn't maybe look like, for lack of a better team, like the Crusher, the Bruiser?
It was modern wrestling, but also at the time Ray is not just a luchador in WCW that I was a fan of, but he's world champion material, and he's doing it's all shapes and sizes all of a sudden, and I just felt so silly. I kept saying when I make it in this acting thing, I can just get into wrestling easier.
Walk right into it.
Which is just a dumb thought process. So I'm very grateful that I got all the right emails and got a hold of John Laurinaitis, and they were kind enough because they knew I had some amateur wrestling background to throw me a bone, go there for a week and do an interview for Paul Heyman and live, eat, sleep wrestling for a week, see if I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I said I wanted to do it.
And I was going to say, Dillinger or Spears was your first match, but Pat was your first match.
Pat Buck?
Pat Buck was your first match.
Pat Buck is everybody's first match, I feel like. No, he was actually my very first match in Corden, Indiana, in front of about 23 people.
How much pressure / take me through that day.
So it was the best type of day because I thought everything would be much more organized with my first match. I had been doing the drills in Al's class. I talked to Al directly when the time is right. But this is before NXT. This is the boys had a lot more fun and more control. There was no office at the live events. The office was the locker room leaders, which at the time was Damian Sandow, Sim Snuka. And I got there, and Pat was a non-contract guy who everyone really respected.
So
and liked.
Al and
didn't even come.
No,
Al
Lance
did.
Storm or whatever.
I wasn't there for Lance. Al did come to the shows, but they were booked at the time by kind of Sim, Damian, and they would run it by Danny and Al on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But Al came when the show started and all that. He wasn't there at this one though. It was just the locker room.
Wonderful, no pressure then.
So. But it was like I was expecting it to be this big moment, this big thing. I had boots, I had knee pads, I had trunks, but I absolutely wasn't ready. And they told me, and I almost loved it that way because it was like, this is going to be over in 3 hours from now, and I'm going to have had my first match.
Yeah.
And I bet you it's going to be better than most people's first match because I got this. I've been talking about wrestling with my dad since I was 4 years old. I've been in rooms when people got fired. I've been in rooms when people got promoted. I've been in rooms when, the ends of matches were discussed. I've been in the room with overall stories. I've heard commentaries sitting on the floor under the desk. It's all in my brain. Now if I can just put the physical tools to it, it'll be a really good first match. It wasn't.
I was gonna say
it wasn't. Yeah, I drop kick him, and then he, rolls out of the ring and is flailing about. He was the nerd Pat Buck that night, and I literally yell over the ropes, "What's next?" And I was.
It's kind of like forever, and this isn't a shot at like the quote unquote smart mark, if you will, or whatnot, but it's like people who think they really, really know. You listen to that story of the guy who's been the son of like literally all those things you said, and still that match awful, just dreadful. It's not an easy thing to do.
We probably went over it 150 times, and I forgot all of it.
It's just wrestling is hard.
Yes,
it's so hard.
Yes, no, it's fun to see someone, especially if you're not going to be a dick to them, if you're not going to bully them. It's fun to see someone have their first encounter where you can remember exactly where you were when you weren't breathing. And you're almost tripping over your own feet.
Right.
Like it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a terrible match, but I remember watching it back when we went to watch the tape.
Yeah,
and I was proud when I watched it back at least.
Oh, I think I'd be more mesmerized by it. Was it in front of with everybody?
Yeah,
I think that would have terrified me a little more. It depends what the spirit in the room was.
Yeah, OVW was when I first got there, was such a friendly place. Like, they welcomed me with open arms. Louisville, Kentucky, man. I feel like I turned my back on that place, and I feel like
Louisville.
I loved Louisville. I learned about my life in Louisville. I learned a little about wrestling. I learned a good chunk about who I wanted to be as a man, and like what's dumb, what's irresponsible, what's responsible. Like, yeah, no, Louisville was very.
Well, you said
important.
Before that was your college.
That was my college.
Yeah.
Smoking weed with Cliff Compton, eating Papa John's, and then wondering why I'm not in shape. Yeah,
college,
watching SummerSlam '92 over and over again, and never getting to the end of the pay-per-view. Just like we'd always start at the beginning, and then somewhere around Flair walking out on Savage and Warrior was about the end of the night usually.
You're conked.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? I had something beautiful, and I lost it. All right.
You'll find it.
Yeah.
Is it the food that's distracting you?
I'm so hungry. We're going to get there in just a second.
Yeah, Pizookie, man.
Oh, I was going to say, Sean Spears. Your first feud.
It's the greatest human being alive.
He's still at it. Can you?
Still in developmental.
Can you put
He's in developmental.
Can you put in a phone call and make him a millionaire, please?
I'm afraid of. I all the time want to tweet stuff about Ty Dillinger, and I'm afraid if I do, like someone will be like, because I'm not in the best graces with the office currently, I'm afraid somebody will be like, because of my love for him.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I see it. One of my favorite wrestlers ever to wrestle.
Yeah.
Anyone who gets in the ring probably says it.
Yeah.
It's that
he deserves everything.
It's that case of someone doesn't see it because maybe they're not wrestling with him or in the ring, or
he deserves everything.
I don't know, right?
I don't know if it's we were talking about this earlier off the record. We were talking about Canadians.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got kind of a Canadian vibe that makes somebody in the office. And Canadian vibe does not denote anything negative.
Right. But there's something about Canadians.
But if it makes someone in the office upset with him or whatever, to me, that's my new joke. When people ask, are you watching the product? I say, I'll watch the product when Dillinger's the champ.
There you go.
I'm not understanding of it. But so I wrestled Kurt Angle in Manchester for What Culture. I was really proud of the match, and we had a really big house. It felt like a WWE event because we had this really great crowd, and they were into it, and they didn't treat us like imports. And in the beginning, I did a cartwheel, and they came up with the tin stuff, the Dillinger tin stuff. And to see Kurt's face and, like, not know what this was, but then get in on it and get his own tin chance.
Yeah.
And then to think about Ty Dillinger in Orlando, like, I don't know. He deserves everything. I'm not sure. He's never done anything, to my knowledge.
Oh, this isn't about saying, I'm just trying to
the mystery of Ty Dillinger.
And just sharing how I know he was the first guy that you were teaming with him, and I watched the whole thing. And
no fundamentals. He had all the fundamentals.
Yeah.
I just stood on the apron.
He's great. I just wanted to say he was great. That's all I wanted to say.
But the mystery of Ty, it's a mystery. I think the way to fix it is every time you go to these events, like fans who go to NXT events, you need to just give him everything.
Yeah,
because he'll give it back, man. He's Ty Dillinger, Gavin Spears, Ronnie Arneal, whatever the hell you call him. What a saint!
What a saint!
What a saint! You know what his Achilles heel is, though, right?
I was going to say women.
Yep, 100%. 100%.
All right, we're winding down here. This is it. Just a little chat. I feel I'm always holding your diet.
Yeah, you've
Pepsi
been helping me with my Diet Pepsi.
Thank you
very much.
What I want to say, just maybe the difference. I did have two things I wanted to hit.
Yeah,
the differences between the difference between the WWE and the independents, which is just an obvious one. And I did want to talk about. I don't want this to get too heavy, but like the grieving process with your dad.
Yeah,
because has it been a year or?
Yeah, it's been feels like it's been 2 years, but it has been a year. It's been over a year. So it was in June, so it's been a little over a year.
And I've talked about, like, I've never really had a significant death in my family. My grandparents, who were in their 90s.
Yeah.
So
good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Well, that's when they passed. My grandma's, I think, 97 now.
Jeez.
So it's hard for me to relate. And I think when I heard, when I hear it, I'm like, oh, that sucks, whatever.
Yeah.
But then I don't think about, like, fuck, that's your, I don't put myself in your place. And then when I sit here with a microphone, I'm like, oh, fuck, that's your dad. You know what I'm saying? And then I think about if my dad in that kind of situation. So I don't know, like, you're probably still in the grieving process.
Oh, man. I mean, if, like, I'm being totally honest with you, I don't think if the grieving process is in those 7 stages they talk about.
I don't even know.
I think there's 7 stages of it. I'm probably still on step 1. You never, like, it happened unexpectedly. So when it happens unexpectedly, like, I sat there, and I don't want to get too, like, morbid, but I put this in his eulogy, his service. I sat there for the whole time, and it was about 18 hours. And in the first part, after he'd been intubated, I already spoke to him. We talked, but when he went under, when they had intubated him because there was a problem, I sat there, and for the beginning portion of it, I just wide-eyed, just my adrenaline through the roof. I'm literally watching a screen to see if his heart rate comes back to the right spot. And then after a certain point in time, I absolutely needed him to go because he wasn't going. The quality of life. Big problem we had was My mother she was a surgical technologist. She was a scrub nurse in the OR, the ER, that whole business. You couldn't lie to her. She knew what the codes were.
Gotcha.
She knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So they didn't kick us out of the room. So I just sat there. And I often find myself still in that room. The best part of the grieving process, the best thing for me has been fucking independent wrestling.
There you go.
Because there've been a couple teary-eyed promos in the ring, and I'm not delusional. I know there are fans who are like, "Come on, bud, get over it." I know, because they're not experiencing it. I know they're out there, and I'm not trying to bang them over the head. But still, this is like, my spirit was just broken by his death, by how things were going at WWE. So to go out in the most unlikely of places and find it again, where were we tonight? St. Paul. Mm-hmm. We're in St. Paul in a high school gym. And to find him there when I can't find him anywhere else, it's the best thing on earth. So if anything's helped the process, it's going literally all over the globe and hearing about how much he meant to other people. That's cool. Yeah,
Did
it
you
helps.
find it when you're in the ring? I can't relate in any way, but I had a hard time, and I just remember like being in the locker rooms and kind of being down and whatever. But I remember whenever I was in the ring, man, like, that's kind of when all my problems would go away.
They go away.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
So I find I've taken to kissing the mat at every promotion that I go to now, and it's not a pose. It's sometimes it's longer than others because it's literally like, it's so weird. It's like feeling him again, and it's like, it's my favorite part of every night. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah. Are we going to talk about you and Dusty's big history that led to the sordid history between you and I?
I was about to wrap it up, but we can't.
We have to talk about it. People ask me about it.
Really?
Because of what happened. You and Punk have the podcast.
Yeah.
And then I subtweet the thing.
Yes.
You get upset. I do the Billy Goats curse on a pay-per-view.
Oh, I don't remember that.
More shots were more cowardly shots on my part.
I was not upset. I just always like, I thought Cody and I were really good friends, or not really good, but like,
We were cool.
Yeah.
No. Again, I got garlic parmesan in my mouth. We were absolutely cool. I was just being a dick. Took a cowardly way of doing it. However, you never knew why. And now I can tell you
Okay.
why. And I think it's all a lie. We can blame this on Cesaro. 'Cause I think he's the one who told me. I'm trying to get the sources correct here.
Well, do you want? I mean, I could tell you what if you want to hear stuff.
So the story I heard, there's two stories. The first story was Dusty's at the Hall of Fame in Detroit. Were you at that Hall of Fame?
Yeah, but not in the company.
So this story will line up then. Again, I don't know what's true or not.
Okay.
He's getting ready to go in the Hall of Fame. He's the headline Hall of Fame guy that evening. And apparently you walked up to him and said, "Hey, Dusty, what are you doing here?"
Stop it.
Yes.
I would never do that.
I believe that story came. Cesaro heard that story from somebody else and passed it on to me.
Weird.
Yes. So Cesaro didn't tell me that story.
Never in a million years would I ever do that. So that was before. Did you hear that when I got signed? Or
I heard that years later.
Okay.
Second story, which led to the sordid
I wouldn't have the
subtweet.
balls to do that.
Second story is my dad brings you in the room at Florida Championship Wrestling or wherever it was and says, "Tell me about yourself."
Yes.
What do you do? And you said, "I do what you do, just better."
Oh.
And I get the bravado behind it. It's pro wrestling. I get it, but I thought, wow, that's really confident, really strong. So those are all the factors that led into the sordid subtweet.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, can I take to that?
Hit it.
Let me back to you to that meeting. Now your father, I don't think liked me, right?
Right.
And I think it was, he's a huge influence on me on everyone, but I think he just didn't like that I was doing. And looking back, I get it, whatever.
Okay.
But I wasn't like full Dusty Rhodes, but obviously influenced. And that always made me sad. Because the first day I went up to him, I was like, "I'm so proud that you're here. I can't believe that you're here at Florida Championship Wrestling." He was going to be our coach. Like, I told my dad last night, like, I was so excited. Like, I wanted to have this moment with him, like, player coach. And he was like, "Cool." He was like, "Okay, yeah." And kind of like blew me off a little. And I was like, like Ralph Wiggum, like I saw in my heart, like,
oh no.
Yeah. And so, so what happened was, I think your dad never saw any value in me, which is understandable. But then Punk did this thing where he said, shout out to Scotty Goldman on the Slammies.
Yeah.
And I think your dad was like, why is this guy talking about that
guy?
What's going on?
Yeah.
This is just a scrub at my school.
Yeah, see.
And so he took me in, and here's, if anything could be misconstrued, I said, who are you? He goes, I've been on the indies for 10 years. I've been to Japan. I've been to Europe. I've been on the hustle. I've been trying to make it like you guys did back in the day.
Yeah.
Not like that idea of like I'm
journeyman.
Journeyman. That's the only thing I could think of that came off. That's crazy.
So neither of those stories are true?
No, not
I
at
thought the
all.
one about I do what you do just better was
Not
definitely
at
true.
all. Which is crazy because there's a guy that once told us that in a car. His name was, we asked him and we go, what do you do? He goes, I'm like Shawn Michaels, but better. And that was like an ongoing, this was an independent wrestler.
Oh my God.
Like he was awful. He's just a local guy.
So, but take some solace in this. You were there, obviously, and Dusty didn't always get it right in terms of his picks. Mm-hmm. But he also was really bad about if a guy already had it, he didn't spend a lot of time on them. Daniel Bryan is a great example. Barely kind of blew Dan off too.
Yeah.
But in his reports wrote, this guy's ready. What can I do?
And he would write that about me.
Yes.
I know
so
he would.
If he would write that,
yeah.
it just didn't. He liked the people he could fix. And if he couldn't fix you, if you were already, he liked the people he could fix.
He did say that about me. He goes, there's no reason for you to be down here.
No.
What's the point?
That's the Ty Dillinger report from his 5th year in development. And literally, that's what my dad always wrote about Ty. What is he still doing here?
So the story.
So he probably liked you.
But did the story get back to you that your dad said that I said that? Or those are just things
We're going to blame Cesaro, but it's not. Cesaro is not the source,
right?
But I was told these things around the time of Scotty Goldman, and it built the nasty.
That's crazy
impression.
You know what,
yeah,
man, I felt like
this, and everyone when people would say to me, they'd say, "You don't like Colt,
right?
Because you're like." The most liked individual in perhaps all of wrestling. I do have a bad habit. There's another wrestler, I won't name his name, that is also, everyone likes him, that I also am like, ugh.
And I felt that from you, which is wild, man.
Blame it on Cesaro.
But
not really.
No, but I just thought like, oh, Cody's changed, I guess,
No.
That's kind of what I had.
I hadn't changed at all.
That's wild, because I did feel it, and I was like, oh, I guess I don't know.
I was just seeing you telling Dusty.
Yeah.
I'm just you, but better.
Oh,
yeah.
come on.
I got the bravado behind that one. I did.
Yeah, but I would think that you knew that I'm not.
I would never crossed enough paths. When you got to OVW shortly as I'm leaving.
Yeah, maybe we didn't spend enough time together. That is not something I would ever say.
Well, now we know.
Holy shit.
Here.
And especially, I think that doesn't drive me as because I was there a long time at that point.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't say that. But the one where I wasn't signed and I was at Detroit, I think that I got signed
What
in
are
Detroit.
you doing here,
yeah,
Dusty?
to say that to Dusty Rhodes. Come on.
What are you doing
Come
here?
on. I think that's crazy. Well, let it be known. Nowhere even close.
It never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, but I think we were good when this happened.
Yeah. Everything is, it was
that
all,
weighing on you? Like, I got to know if he said this.
No, because after a while I'd given to the idea that you did say all these things.
And you've
but it was just your way.
Maybe said goofily?
It was just your way, because remember, like, to me, a lot of people speak to me about Dusty objectively and forget he's my dad. Mm-hmm. Daniel Bryan once just cut this 45-minute promo on how my dad was a terrible commentator in WCW. Yeah. And I literally pulled the car over and said, hey, dude.
That's my dad.
It's my dad.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit that he didn't know the moves of Psychosis in this match or whatever Dan was talking about. Or like he went in about the Tsetse fly or something while Ray was out there. I understand your gripe here, but he's my dad.
Right.
Yeah, so, so I always looked at it from like,
protecting your dad.
Yeah. I mean, you had that, Detroit incident.
Oh, my God. No, I mean.
What are you doing here?
I did recognize, and I've always recognized that we weren't on the same page together.
Yeah.
That, and it did hurt my heart a little bit. But I'd like to think and hopefully you know how much respect I have for everybody.
I was talked way down from it because everybody, I'd be like, I couldn't believe you'd say this whenever, whether it be Kofi or whatever, be like, man, I don't think that's what happened. I don't like
Say that again.
Everyone talked me down from my whole no, but he said this.
Yeah.
He said this. I don't think that's what happened. Yeah, I don't
I'm
think.
surprised it took this long. That's amazing. I wonder what other stuff there is about me out there.
There's probably you never know.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes when you're just so friendly as you are, something's wrong.
People think there's something there.
Think there's something
There's
wrong.
got to be
What's
something,
wrong
right?
with this guy? Yeah.
My problem is I eat too much pizza. I think is
There it is, man.
Should we
Get to
dive
it.
in?
Yeah.
Let's plug. You're going to be at ROH. I think I'm going to put this before the
Final battle.
Before Final Battle, and just maybe where you're at on the internet.
Literally, just so you know, Final Battle in my heart, I can honestly tell you, is the biggest thing I feel like I've ever done. And I just wrestled at WrestleMania, this past one. So I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's Hammerstein.
It's so cool there.
Maybe it's just the fact that I did not ever see a day when I was going to be in a Ring of Honor ring. I don't know what it is, but something about it has me so excited. So excited. And then you can find me. Everything is out there. My Twitter is still at Cody Rhodes. There's been no change.
Nice.
So, at Cody Rhodes. You can find it all right there.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Do you have a pro wrestling T-store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Great.
think it's just Cody.
Correct. Yes.
Just Cody.
Good.
One name.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, thank you, man.
It was a
very
little
much.
cathartic at the end, I think, for both of us. Man.
Yeah, we needed it.
Yeah.
We needed it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right. Pretty nuts. Pretty, I came out of that one just thinking man, that can, not that it ruined my career because what I do now is the best, but the idea that someone said that, because, only Dusty and I knew what happened in that room, and that definitely didn't happen. Actually, there's a guy named Matt Kenobi. I think he was in the room, too, and he could definitely vouch for me not saying that, or maybe he's the guy who thought I said that. Listen, I definitely didn't say that or said it the way it came out. It's just not the way my brain acts. But I wonder, if I said something weird that was taken that way. I don't know. It's so back to the idea that, someone saying something that I said could have ruined a whole career. It's not luckily it didn't ruin my career. I mean, it ruined my career there. Maybe that's one of the things, one of the downfalls. And I just found out 7 years later on my own podcast. But there's 100% something that somebody didn't say has ruined somebody's career in some aspect. And that's just, that's life. That's the politics. You just witnessed the weird politics of professional wrestling. I know it's politics everywhere, but especially the dog-eat-dog world of that WWE and that world. And gratefully, thankfully, being a political guy didn't get me anywhere because not being a political guy didn't get me anywhere, but also I never planned my career on it. There's people that I know that planned their career on whether they were political or not, how they maneuvered throughout the system politically. And me, I just... I do it one day at a time, and I think it makes for a better life. Makes for a better podcast, too. Good Lord. All right, Cody on the show. Let them know that you liked it. That's a theme I should start saying. People love it when you tweet them and say, hey, you were great on Colt's show. Feel free to let them know. All right, before we get out of here, let's get into some plugs and...
upcoming events.
All right, the best way that you can support and the only way you can buy the Wrestling Road Dice 3, ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana, Facebook /AOW Podcast, also /Colt Cabana. Past archives of the show are ad-free and on Howl.fm. Use the code COLT, get yourself a free month. Also, I just put up those 3 new Pro Wrestling Fringe episodes. They're so good. Listen for free and then just quit after the month if you don't want to continue, all right? ColtWrestling@gmail.com is my very public email. Maybe you're a promoter, want to put me on your upcoming show or convention. I got a YouTube channel. Marty and I just put out 4 awesome unboxing videos. Go watch them, including Pro Wrestling Crate, which is owned by ProWrestlingTees.com. ColtCommand.com is my website. I got a P.O. box there. Flannel Graph Records just sent me a 7-inch vinyl of the 1967 Roger Miller Christmas record. I don't know what I'm going to play that on, but I got it now. I'm sure it's cool, right? Upcoming Friday, November 25th, Cleveland, Ohio, AIWrestling.com. Saturday, November 26th, Chicago, Illinois, AAWrestling.com. Sunday, November 27th, Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We're doing a podcast beforehand and then a wrestling show, Alpha-1Wrestling.com. December 2nd and 4th, New York and Philadelphia, ROHWrestling.com. I'm flying back to the Midwest, Saturday, December 3rd, Waukesha, Wisconsin, HouseOfHardcore.net. Friday, December 9th, West Dallas, Wisconsin, BrewCityWrestling1.com. Saturday, December 10th, Barnesville, Georgia, WrestleMerica.com. Friday, December 16th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, HouseOfHardcore.net. Saturday, December 17th, Austin, Texas, WrestleCircus.com. That is the show for this week. I hope you guys have an amazing Thanksgiving. I'm going to be with my parents and my family and some friends. I've been told I'm playing football If you've listened to this podcast for a long time, you knew that I tore both hamstrings playing Thanksgiving football. So I'll give you an update next week if I'm able to walk or not. Big thank you to you guys at home for listening and telling your friends. Thanks to Cable Guy Jeff and Stu Stone. Thanks to Cody Rhodes for coming on the show. Kid Russell, Matt Jenkins on the music. Dane Miller with some tech. Dane Miller, who saved my life 2 years ago when this whole thing crashed. I appreciated Dane Miller. Happy anniversary. I'll send you a text, I think. HighSpots.com is a sponsor. Hundreds of full-length titles available to download. A VOD service that's amazing. A subscription box. All the $5 wrestling titles. AMA knee pads. They're the knee pads that I bought and I've been wearing recently. Gear, masks, much more. A wrestling ring if you need it. OneHourTees.com. They help run ProWrestlingCrate.com. They run ProWrestlingTees.com. That's where you can get 20% off for the next week on the biggest sale of wrestling shirts in the world. TweakedAudio.com/Colt. The earbuds that I use get over 30% off of free shipping just because you listen to this show. The Thanksgiving episode 2 years ago, that wild, wild day where everything went to whatever it went, and still paying the price for it. But a lot of people appreciated it. A lot of people liked that episode, and I too. You know, that's what it stood for. It definitely has been hurting more than it's been helping. But this is my platform for people to tell their stories, and that was a story that was needed to be told. No different than everybody else who is on this show. It's the reason I love doing it. All right. This has been The Art of Wrestling. Hey, for Colt Cabana, I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks.
One, two, three, four levels.
There are 4 levels.
There are 4 levels.